So we're going to look at China. China, of course, I spoke about this back on November 27th, so a month ago, how China was buying gold under the radar. Yes, the Chinese central bank, the PBOC, they had announced in May that they didn't increase their gold reserves, which they had been announcing for a while, every month that they were increasing. And of course, the mainstream media jumped on that and said, yeah, gold is finished. The Chinese have stopped buying now. But Jan Neuenhaus, who does very good research on gold, he covered back then that he was seeing through the custom moves data that China was importing gold from London, a lot of gold, like 60 tons and around 60 tons in September and October. And that's despite the fact that the Shanghai price had actually a little discount to the London price. But I think the reason they're buying from the West is that they know that the West has a debt problem, and they have a gold problem as well. Like the big bullion banks have big shorts that they orchestrate through the paper market. And if they take the physical out of the West, it's going to be harder and harder for the West to keep the gold price in check. And a gold price in check, of course, is positive for the dollar, because the flip side of the dollar, of course, is gold. If you don't know, up until 1933, the dollar was a fixed weight of gold. That's all it was. And the currency was just a promise to pay in gold. So if the gold price goes up versus the fiat dollar, it means that the dollar is going down. Ultimately, the dollar can only be debased or devalued or even revalued higher versus gold, because the other fiat currencies are just a derivative of the dollar, and they're going to inflate or deflate. They'll follow the Fed, right? So back in November, Jan Neuenhaus noted that they were secretly buying a lot of gold, right? And a few weeks later, or a week or so ago, maybe a little longer, Goldman Sachs caught on to Jan's article, and they did their own research, and they came out with it. And lately, though, Jan Neuenhaus has come out with another article on Christmas Eve, December 24th, and he says China secretly snaps up more gold positions for its greater global role. And yeah, it's going to continue. If you want to be the world power, and I think China will be the world power, not the West anymore. Not that I am cheering for that, but it's just the way things go. Empires don't last forever. You have to have the gold. He who has the gold makes the rules, so the saying goes. But what he's saying here, he's done some more research, and he thinks China has been buying a lot of gold on the quiet, that he's done a lot of research of the gold that's coming through from London, but he thinks there's a lot more coming from other gold centers, maybe like Dubai. And ever since the war in Ukraine kicked off, or the special military operation in February of 2022, he argues that China has actually added 1,000 tons of gold, and that they have more like 5,000 tons instead of the 2,300 tons that they officially say they have. Yes, and I know there are a lot of other researchers in gold, like Alistair MacLeod and others, that have looked at the data and the mine production of gold in China for the last 25 years, which never leaves the country. And they come to the conclusion that the Chinese, and that includes, I guess, the PBOC, all the state-owned enterprises, and the public. They own more like 32,000 metric tons, and I think that is highly possible. But the thing is, the Chinese want to keep that quiet, of course. Maybe one day they will come out and say we have a lot more gold, and that will be, I think, very negative for the dollar. And yes, so when do I think they'll come out and admit they have a lot more gold? Probably when they've been able to unwind a lot of their U.S. Treasury holdings, because if you say you have a lot of gold, it will hurt the dollar, and they have a lot of dollars left still. So I think they still want to accumulate more and more gold before they do that. So yeah, very interesting. Yan says Goldman Sachs writes on PBOC gold buying in London. So I don't think these bullion banks, and Goldman Sachs is one of the big bullion banks, they would have looked at this, because normally they just keep an eye on the official data from the central banks. And I think Wall Street, the bullion banks, are worried for Goldman Sachs to look into that. 2, 3, 5 years ago, people would have said, well, that's a conspiracy theory. But they did the research, basically, that Yan did, looking at the HMRC customs data, the Chinese customs data, and they've come to the same conclusion, of course. I think they just probably took his research and kind of didn't copy it, but they did it themselves. But they wouldn't have done this if they hadn't seen his article. So what does this mean for gold? Well, it means that not just us here in the alternative gold bug or sound money camp are looking at this now, the bullion banks. And I think they're concerned, because ultimately, yes, we might have a kinetic war, and I hope we don't, major war. But the ultimate war here is a financial war. And if you remember recently, Jay Powell, who's the head of the Federal Reserve, the most important central bank in the world, he said that gold and Bitcoin were the same, speculative, that the real competition was between gold and Bitcoin, as if the dollar was king. And it shows to me that he's clueless, or he's trying to keep people away from gold. But I don't think the Chinese or a lot of other foreign countries or officials have been fooled by Jay Powell. Maybe the general public in the U.S. and the West will be fooled to think that the dollar is king, really. I mean, I'm here in Switzerland, and I remember when I was a lot younger here in Switzerland, that you could get over 2 francs for a dollar. Now you get less than a franc. And talking about that, the exchange rate, I'm hearing anecdotal evidence that a lot of Americans are coming to ski in Switzerland, mainly because it's much cheaper. The ski lifts here for a day here, you pay about 80 francs. But in places like Colorado, Aspen, or Vail, or whatever, you're paying $300 a day to have a ticket for skiing, for the ski lift. And apparently one of the reasons is because a lot of the big corporations own everything in these ski resorts in the U.S. I might be wrong, but that's what I've been told. But here in Switzerland, things are more owned by the local people, not controlled by big corporations. Maybe that's the reason. But anyway, that's a different topic. So, yes, we are like the little plankton following the big whale, in my opinion, with gold and China. Is it the reason why I try to stack gold and as much as possible in silver? No, but it shows you what's happening. The reason why I've been insuring my savings with gold and silver since like early 2000s is that I know that a fiat currency system, especially one in which the major reserve currency is a fiat currency and it's never happened before, will ultimately end in tears and go to zero, because that's what all fiat currencies do, and the dollar included.